Dear students, here we are going to start the first chapter of unit number 1, geomorphology. This unit number 1, geomorphology, deals with the study of landforms of the earth surface. Now in the next slide we are going to see the definition of geomorphology. Various different definitions have been given. So here the first definition of geomorphology is the science dealing with the study of landforms. And this can be studied by using several conceptual frameworks. Another important point is that based on different sets of assumptions and inevitably provide varying interpretations of the geomorphological landscape. Now, in the next slide, we are seeing here the three main approaches which are there to study geomorphology. Now, the approach number 1 is the process. An approach wherein emphasis is placed on importance of geomorphic processes modified and then by geological as well as climatical factors, for example, the erosion process, fluvial process and glacial process, etc. Another second point is geology, that means the lithostructural unit, which controls and the way in which they are influenced by the climate and process. For example, karst phenomenon. What is karst phenomenon? The karst phenomenon is that phenomenon where the limestone region is divided, is consisting of several different types of caves, caverns, deep, we can say sinkholes, etc. The third approach in the geomorphology is climate. An approach of identifying climatic zones, commonly referred as morphogenetic regions, in which there are distinctive groups of process and assemblages of landforms which differ from those found in the other morphogenetic regions. Now we will see the next slide where we can see that the historical background of geomorphology. Now, what is historical background? When this geomorphology started to come into existence on the earth's surface, it is from 1726, that is up to 1797 by James Hutton, who first of all gave the reference of the first concept of geomorphology, which is called as present is past. From then there are various different geomorphologies. They come into existence and they have given different, we can say, theories for explaining the geomorphology. From which we have John Playfair, Charles Lyell, Louis Agassiz, G.K. Gilbert, William Davis, Walter Penck, Goodale, King, then several such type of geomorphologists, they are there which explain the geomorphology. Now, in the next slide, we are going to see that the very important thumb rule in geomorphology has started from Davis. He gave the theory of a cycle of a normal erosion, where he explained uplift of a region and its lowering by erosion to peneplain or plain. And he explained it as the polycyclic in nature. So here is the Davis model, and what this model say in next slide you can see. According to this model, assumptions continues progresses of the landscape from youth to old stage, that is wearing down. Flat area of land rapidly uplifted. So some places we find that the areas have gone down to become plain. Some places we see that the flat areas have been uplifted. Sequence of the landforms develop upon it where functions of, very important, the functions which are essential for understanding are the rock type, structure, process, that is type of erosion, stages, length of time of erosion action. Now, in the next slide, we will see what happened and what are the three stages of erosional development. The first one is youth stage, where the gradient is very steep, deep valleys are formed, land remained high with regional surfaces, rivers actively eroding in that particular terrain. Second stage is the maturity. Less steep slope, wider valleys, rounded interfluence zones, and land wearing down plus land widening are the important aspects which are going on in this particular stage. And the third and the final stage is the old stage, where the gradient is low, gently inclined landscape, sluggish channels, flattish floodplain, erosion deposition are in balance. Such type of features, when they are combined together in the final stage, they are resulted into peneplain. Now, the next slide, it shows that what is the outline of geomorphic processes. The outline of geomorphic processes can be divided into three types. The first one is exogenetic. What is exo? Exo means outer. So those geomorphic processes which are on the surface of the earth, because of the external agents have happened, they are called as exogenetic. What is there in the exogenetic? Degradation means weathering, mass wasting, erosion. Aggradation is there. What is meaning of aggradation? Running water, groundwater, and waves in the oceans, plus wind and glacier. These are the processes of aggradation which are in the building stages. Work of organisms, also including man, are responsible for exogenetic processes. Now, the second outline of geomorphic process is the endogenetic processes. What is endogenic? Endo means within the Earth's interior. The things that happen in the Earth's interior that are in the form of upliftment of land, means diastrophic movement, means mountain building activity, sometimes eruption of volcanoes forming the volcanic activity, volcanism. These are the endogenic processes by which landforms can be generated. And last one, it is the extraterrestrial activity. What is extraterrestrial activity? Meteorites. When the meteorites they fall down, they have certain impact on the Earth's surface as well as on Moon and other planets you can see. And when these have impact on these, then there will be definitely extraterrestrial activity can also form the geomorphic process. Here the best example we can cite is the Lonar Lake, where the meteoric impact has caused a big depression there, forming the lake. So that geomorphology has changed. Now in the next slide, we will see that the geomorphic processes, they are primarily consisting or dependent on various agents of metamorphism, agents of geomorphic processes. The agents of geomorphic processes are the agents of weathering. What are the agents of weathering? River is there, wind is there, glacier is there, sea waves are there, coastal waves are there. So all these coastal waves, the different we can say rivers, etc., they are marking, they are initiating the weathering process. And when weathering is done, that weathered material may be either transported or non-transported. If non-transported, they forms the residual deposits, and if transported, they forms the different types of deposits based on the particle size. Next important aspect which in the geomorphic processes are responsible or important, they are the structures, climatic conditions, topography, vegetation. All these, they have certain impact on geomorphic processes. Another geomorphic process is called as mass wasting. Mass wasting, where the sliding of the land is taking place, landslides are there, and several different soil creeps and different types of we can say landslidings are there, which are mass wasting processes. Another is erosion. Erosion done by running water means river. Erosion done by groundwater, underground water. Erosion done by organic processes is there. Erosion done by wind is there in the aeolian process. Erosion done by glacier in the glaciated areas, and even erosion done by the coastal waves. All these comes under the geomorphic processes. Now in the next slide, we will be see that what are the erosional landforms. There are various different types of erosional landforms formed because of different agents of weathering. Details of each, for example, fluvial geomorphology, aeolian geomorphology, we have glacial geomorphology, we have coastal geomorphology or marine geomorphology. That time we will see what are the erosional and depositional landforms in detail. But for example, here the landforms like pediments are there, residual landforms are there. Several different types of landforms can be found, can be formed, can be resulted because of the geomorphic processes. Now, in the next slide, we will see that the best example for explaining the pediplain is evolution of pediplain. Earlier, the hill slopes, they are retreating. Next, the process of formation of pediment started. Further, the alluvial infills are there, dissection of the plateau or dissection of the land is there, and formation of the terraces is there. Next, the residual hills are formed. Sometimes some places smaller hills, hillocks are developed. Then certain times all the other material has been completely washed away, completely eroded away, and smaller mounds come out from that particular soil or surface. They can form there, they can be called as inselbergs. So this is the way, the example of a pediment converted into inselberg we have discussed here. So in the next slide we will see the best example of the inselberg. Look at the hill here. This hill is a inselberg, we can say. It is a mound developed when it has been developed. How it has been developed? Actually, when the covering of all the sediments and other material has been removed, a hillock has remained there. That is called as the inselberg. In some places, such inselbergs, for example in Africa, they can be called as Bornharders. Inselbergs are large residual hills occurring on the eroded plain. Superior resistance to erosion and on divides far from active erosion. In Bornharders, dome-shaped residual rocks masses considerably size more than 30 meter are called as Bornharders. Now in the next slide, how these we can say inselbergs are developed. So development and decay of inselberg or Bornharder. If we see the first photograph on the upper side left corner, we will see that the rock mass is under the cover. But afterwards, because of the erosion, the cover has been removed and the mounds or hillocks have exposed up. So this way, the exposure of the hillocks after the weathering has taken place, after the erosion of the material has taken place, are known as inselbergs or Bornharders. Similarly, in the next slide, we will see that how this process happened. In some places you will see that when they have been exposed to surface, as soon as, for example, granite, as soon as the granite is exposed to the surface, that rock becomes loose, exfoliated, and some joints may be there. Along these joints, the breaking of the material can take place, and therefore they may be resulted into the formation of tors, become separated from their bedrock roots, and therefore the weathering is created. This has been done by Thomas in 1965. Next, we will see how the pediplain or the river which has eroded the material, how it get transport. The debris, the loose material that has been produced by the river or by the different agent of we can say geomorphology moves in the channel in three ways, and this process is known as the transportation. The transportation are of three types: solution, means the material dissolves in water and it gets transported. Then suspension, according to the size, they have different names, but suspended particles means they will travel along with the water. And last one is the bed load. Sometimes some load cannot be easily transported. It will be settled on the bed. Such a type of transportations are there. Actually, this type of description we have already dealt in first year. Therefore, details of this are not required in the third year. So, in this way, we have given an introduction to the geomorphology. Now, the next chapters, chapter second will be the fluvial geomorphology, then aeolian geomorphology, glacial geomorphology, and last will be the coastal or marine geomorphology. So with this, we will stop the lecture here. Thanks.